classmates. It's Elaney. I'm sure I've met most of you around because I've been bouncing around a few different cohorts. Yeah, my name's Elaney Sting. And let's see here, a little about me. I was born and raised in North County, San Diego. And I've been surfing for over 22 years. I'm 28. I went to USD for my undergrad, and I was one of two girls on the USD surf team. And what I do in the summers is I teach surf camp to kids for Fulcrum Surf in Del Mar. Working for Fulcrum is one of the reasons why I think I realized I wanted to be a teacher. Just one of the many, many reasons. But that ties into why I love being with kids and working with them. I see their faces light up when they grasp and learn a new type of context, anything. And that can go in the water or in the classroom. And that's what made me realize I want to be a teacher. Let's see, my credential. I'm working on my multiple subject credential. I'm hoping to work on the lower end of multiple subject because I really love the munchkins. I want to do like K through third at the highest. I already spent, I guess, like 2 different semesters in a 3rd grade class. And so where have I been teaching? So long story short, I graduated USD with my undergrad in 2016. Like 2-3 months out of graduating, I was like, I'm going to miss doing surf camp, working with kids. I'm going to miss babysitting. What am I doing? I know I've always wanted to be a teacher. I don't know. It was on the back of my mind and decided to follow through with it. So I last minute enrolled for spring semester that next year, spring 2017, in the Cal State San Marcos's extension of learning program for their credential. And I ended up taking 3 of their prereqs, which eventually 2 were allowed to transfer over to USD. So I took the 3 prereqs there, and that involved me having to do almost like extended practicum while I was there. So I did that in a 3rd grade class at San Elijo Hills Elementary School in the San Marcos School District. That was incredible. Greatest kids, greatest CT. It's actually my best friend's mom. It was so much fun. I loved that school. Let's see. So I did that. Maybe only it was like 12 or 15 hours a week for that one semester. As well, I tutored that semester. I tutored foster kids through the nonprofit Tutor Connection. And mainly I was assigned to one student, but he had like 3 other foster siblings, so I'd work interchangeably with all of them from grades 3 to 6. So I really enjoy working with 3rd and younger because then last year when I ended up getting into San Marcos for their program along with USD and wanted to go back to USD. Finished what I started. You know, I got my undergrad there. I have ties to the school. So I got placed at a different school last year for practicum, and it was 5th grade. Oh no. The kids that are going through puberty scare me. So even though I'm working on multiple subject, I'm really hoping to stick to the K through 3. Too many crazy stories to even explain and go into why those 5th graders scared me away a bit. Then this semester, I actually redid practicum and was placed in Encinitas, and it was so incredible. It reminded me of like the education I got growing up. The teachers were down to earth. The kids were so awesome and sweet and kind and respectful, and yes, a little rowdy and would pull some pranks, but it was your typical elementary school kid prank compared to what I saw last year with 5th grade, where I was like, they shouldn't be knowing about this or doing that. That's, whoa. So it was incredible, that school. I learned a lot from all of my experiences, 2 in 3rd grade, 1 in 5th grade. And I've absorbed in other friends' parents' classes as well, from like a K first combo and a 1st, 2nd grade combo and another 3rd grade class from my old teacher that I went and visited at Del Mar Heights. So, I mean, I've had experience in a lot of different classrooms, let alone just out in the water teaching kids. So I have a lot to pull from. And I guess what I could say is I learned, you know, you learn what you like and what you don't like when you're in a classroom. And my first semester when I was at San Marcos, that school, I loved the classroom management style that teacher had. It was organized, but she was kind. She had reasons for why she did something. If you broke a rule, there was a consequence. It wasn't a horrific one that was like, oh no, go to the principal. But it was a reasonable, fill out a slip and have your mom sign it and bring it back tomorrow. Compared to then last year at the school where I was, that I ended up leaving, where you broke a tiny rule and you got yelled at or you got detention, and one kid got detention for recess and lunch recess for the whole rest of the year, where he had to eat lunch with the janitor and then pick up trash with the janitor. And I was just like, what? It's like, that's not going to teach the kid anything. Like, the management there was so poor. And then this year at the school I was at, the third grade class, my CT this year was a little more flexible than I would be. She introduced flexible seating, and she told me that her class last year handled it well. She told me this class this year didn't handle it well. And actually, there was a week where I wasn't there student teaching, and she actually got so frustrated she actually had to assign take away the flexible seating and give a seat assignment while I was gone because they were too much to handle. And she told me our class was like, out of the 20-something years she's been teaching, it was one of the most rowdiest classes she's ever taught. So that class, I think, needed more structure. So I guess I'm rambling. I'm sorry, I do that. So I'll get back to those points. Why did I choose to take this class, and what do I hope to gain from it? I wanted to take this class because, one, I love Dr. Pariser, and she's super awesome. And I had her with my sorry, I'm having she co-taught with my professor, Professor Chumbly, last year. And I really liked listening to both of them. And I thought it'd be really cool to take another class with her. Online classes aren't really my style. I've never done them. And I'm hopeful that I make it through this one, because sometimes I don't have the willpower to go to class unless I'm told to actually be in a seat at a certain time. So we'll see. Fingers crossed for me. So I like the idea of having a professor. I've always liked taking courses with a professor I already know and say, like, oh, I've already had a class with them. I know their grading style. I know their way of teaching. If they're more flexible, if they're more bubbly. And I've always liked going into a class kind of knowing that about a teacher. And I really like her, Dr. Pariser's teaching style. So there was that. Also, I guess from the past experiences of student teaching, my first one in San Marcos, I just loved her classroom management style. And I just never thought about it. I just figured I'm going to set up my class just like that. Wow. And then last year I saw exactly what I would never want to do. And I figured, okay, well, I know what I want to do and I know what I don't want to do. Good deal. Well, this year, even though this was like such a great placement, that was one of the few there weren't a lot. Literally, the only frustrating thing was finding parking at the school. But the main frustrating thing was she liked her flexible seating. And it just did not work with this class. And I had a few moms talk to me after school and be like, have you talked to your CT? Like, does she realize, like, this isn't working with this class, this group of kids? And I'm like, I'm not one to, I made it clear, when we'd talk about my struggles. Oh, hey, CT, yeah, the one thing I'm still trying to wrap my head around is the flexible seating. I'm having a hard time getting it. But I wasn't going to be like, I hate this, like, change your, like, no. But, so, struggling with that was the hardest struggle for me with my part-time student teaching extended practicum this past semester, was figuring out how to have classroom management in a class that's not yours, but that you need to help run, where you can't implement the one thing that you think would help add some management. So for that class, I would have, in most cases, I like the idea of having a seating chart and switching it every month. And I've read Dr. Pariser's book, and I really like the idea of first day or two, find out who the happy kids are, the sad kids are, and don't label the kids on your chart, ELL or IEP or GATE, but maybe color code like different dots. And after the second, third day of school and really kind of getting to know your class and letting them do flexible seating or however you want to do it those first few days, you'll be able to make a good assessment on what you think a good seating chart would be by spreading the different learners around the class and creating your own system that hopefully you can manage. And I really liked that tip because the first day of school, you don't know who's going to get along with who. You don't want to just have their name tags placed on table desks and you go here, you go there. Like, you don't know. So the first day or two, especially in elementary, you're sitting on the floor a lot and on the rug, especially lower elementary. And then eventually, you in a few days can put their names on the desks. So I really that was my biggest struggle this past semester. So learning how to deal with classroom management and still being flexible and, honoring that my students should be able to hopefully make their own good decisions on who to sit next to in class, who not to sit next to in class, what would be a good decision on where, some of them would sit on the floor and turn their back away from her in the front of the class and they'd stare at the back wall. And she said if that's what works for them, that's what works for them. And I was like, but half of them are on the floor hiding under desks and one left and we didn't know for 45 minutes because he was playing Pokemon in the bathroom. I mean, it was a little out of control. So for me, I want to see all the heads where I can be like, oh, who's missing real fast, right? And of course, have a big carpet rug. And when the kids come to the floor, that would be a different system. And maybe when you're working in science groups or working with your writing partner, mix it up. But I like the idea of having each class have their own kind of system. So I guess I'm kind of already getting into what is your rough philosophy on classroom management. And so mine is, I'd really say, you gotta be organized. You have, with that flexible seating, none of the kids had their own desk. Every day they found a new one if they wanted. So you couldn't even keep your pencil in your desk or at your desk, which made things very hard during transitions because all the kids had on the counters on the side just all their writer's notebook and their science journal and their math notebook and all sprawled out. It looked like something had exploded. And my CT would be like, that's my fault. I am not very good at being organized. And someone like me who's OCD, I realize I can't control every kid's organization. But I like the idea of knowing each kid can keep their stuff in their desk. I can say, okay, class, it's time. This would be a good classroom management style. And would be, okay, class, it's time to do science. Can you please take out your red science folder? They look into their desk, pull it out, boom. Compared to what I saw this year. Okay, class, it's science time. Oh my gosh, every third grader jumps up. There's 23 of them, and half of them are like, I can't find a pencil. I don't know where my notebook is. Somebody took mine. It would take 20 minutes just to transition into each new subject. And you're switching subjects every 30 minutes. And I read some articles on flexible seating thinking, am I going to be that strict teacher that I never wanted to be? Because I think there should be some order to the class. And I read some articles and it was showing a lot of people were pros and cons of flexible seating. And yes, it allows children to make their own decisions and to feel some autonomy and learn, oh, maybe that seating arrangement didn't work yesterday. Let me try something new. Cool. But it takes away time where I could still be teaching my students so much more, and it's taken away from their learning. And there are the few students who say, Miss Stang, can we please not do flexible seating anymore? I can't focus. Or Miss Stang, I have a headache. Our class is so loud because, all the chatty people sit together, of course. And I'm a chatty person. I get that. But it's hard when you're dealing with that many kids. So for me, I guess my philosophy would be, you got to be organized. You got to prep. I wrote a few things down so I wouldn't forget them. Sorry. You got to have a system and rules that are implemented. You got to have clear expectations what I saw this year was, in the past, the rules in that 5th grade class were too extreme. If a kid was caught reading and he was, reading his own fun book during whatever, and it's math time, kids do that. Last year's CT would be like, how dare you? Like, okay, I'm sending you to the principal. And I'd be like, well, okay. This year, my CT would come up to a kid who's not supposed to be reading and go, I love that you love to read, but right now is not the time. And I was like, that is so great. That's easy, but something where you are breaking the rules more so, where some of my students this year would, give each other wedgies or put a sticky on the back of someone else saying, hit me, kick. Those kind of deals. My CT even told me, she goes, her 2 faults were not being very organized and not following through with discipline. And I don't even know if you need to call it discipline, but just having a consequence, saying you broke a rule that you knew was not a good decision, and here's what's going to happen. Because I realized our class, they'd get away with things, and I wasn't going to implement. She had a list of things of, if you do this, you get a red slip, you get a yellow slip. But she'd just be like, hey, warning. Well, some kids got like 20-something warnings in one day, and no consequences. And I wasn't going to be the one to actually implement, hey, no, you got to do this yellow slip. Like, it wasn't my classroom. I was trying to follow her lead. But I like the idea of not letting the kids walk all over you. They learned that, I can get away with this. I don't have, I don't have to follow the rules. I'm not going to get a yellow or red card slip sent home to mom where it says what I did wrong and where she signs it, and clearly mom or dad won't be happy about it. Like, out of sight, out of mind. The kids would just be like, oh, all right, time to move on to the next thing, and get in trouble again with a warning. So to me, I'm not sure how I would manage it yet. I think every class is different, but I really like the positive reinforcements, and just like having like a star chart and saying, you reached 10 stars, like, good for you. Like, everyone has like a little, like, we had this system in the class and I liked it. And it was called the Super Improvers Wall, and everyone starts off as like, it was sports related. It was like, start off as a rookie. And then when you get 10 stars for, you turned in your homework today, you get a star. You were a good classroom citizen, you get a star. When you hit 10, it was a big deal. We'd date it and sign it and give it to the kid to go home and give it to their parents. Literally, there was nothing. It was no extra free time, no recess or extra recess, no homework pass, none of that. It was just, you got 10 stars, time to move on to the next one. Now you're a junior varsity. Now you're like team captain. Now you're like, and so it just moved up on what, on your own merit. And that was cool. So I like the idea of implementing that to kids that are doing a great job. But I also think there needs to be a consequence thing. And it doesn't have to be public for the whole class to know, but to pull over a kid later and be like, hey, that was not okay. I need you to, one, apologize to that student, or apologize to whatever you did wrong, fix it, and there needs to be a consequence, and maybe each situation would be different. So, let's see. What do I know about classroom management, and what do I not know yet? So, those are kind of, I guess I'm like rambling on. I'm sorry. I do ramble a lot. Let's see. Trying to get back on track here. So that was my philosophy, I guess. There needs to be follow through, discipline or consequences, clear expectations, and to be organized. Organization is like so big for me. And what did I write here on my thing? Sorry, what did I? I'm not even sure what that says, what I wrote. But also, some management, you can always just talk to the other teachers. I mean, they're your colleagues. Talk to them, see what they do, and bounce ideas off of each other. I think that's another great way to just learn new styles of classroom management. I think every grade does need a subject, or does every grade or subject need classroom management? Yes. Some more or less than others. I could see PE, not as much management, and they say go run a lap, of course it's going to be different compared to maybe a high school math class or a fourth grade science pullout or kindergarten reading circle. They're all going to be different. I think each subject or grade needs to be assessed by that teacher. And I think that teacher may need to adjust their classroom management styles each year for each class because each group of kids is so different. Like my CT told me, she goes, this year the kids don't handle flexible seating very well, but she believed in it so much that she wanted to keep it. But she goes, last year, those kids were great with it. So I think each year you just kind of gotta, see how it goes. Each kid is different. Each student is different. And when you put them all together in a whole new group, that whole group's going to come off different. And it still needs management, but the management style may be different depending on those students' needs. Let's see. So what does a teacher's classroom with strong classroom management look like? Pretty much I've covered that, I think. I like the idea of having a structuring. I like having kids have maybe color coding, having science be their red folder, remember, I'm talking about like third grade, for let's say. In their desk, have a pencil, pen, maybe their pencil box with some crayons and markers so they're not always getting up to run and share the bin of markers and arguing over who gets what. I think every kid should have, a couple folders. Have their red folder for science or social studies, then have their blue one for math, and their orange one for writing, and then, a yellow one for language arts. And all there in their desk, and all you got to do is say, okay, we're about to do math. Pull out your blue folder. Then when it's time to put it away later. Okay, please put your paper that you've been working on, put it in your blue folder, put it away. Boom. So quick and easy. And my CT had that system this year, but you didn't put them in your desk. You put them on the countertops or in she had 4 or 5 big buckets. And students numbered 1 through 5 were in bucket 1. Students 6 through 10 or whatever were in bucket 2. And so each kid had 5 or 6 colored folders, and then those 5 kids all together would just throw it all in there, and there were papers, and it was a mess, and it was ridiculous. So, I like the idea of the color coding folders for kids, but I like the idea of having it in their own space. And then they are responsible for it, instead of saying, oh, I don't know what happened to it, and maybe it's their fault that they lost it, or maybe some other kid grabbed it, or who knows, it was really hard to judge, should the kid get another one of these because he lost it himself or because his classmates took it by mistake, right? So I really like organization. Also, what else did I write? I really like the idea of having a backup plan for classroom management, because there were times where my CT would leave the room or something and a kid would finish early, way early, and she wouldn't tell me, have them do this after. So my go-to is usually check your answers or, review it. Make sure your name's on it, and maybe see if walk around, see if any partners need help. If it wasn't a graded test and it was just an assessment, an assignment. Oh, do you need, walk around, see who needs help. If not, you can read and so if I was saying, you could do, it's cool to have a backup plan for those kids who finish early or who are bored and are I already know how to do this. It's good to have always a backup plan for those kids. And I think that would help with some management, always having that backup plan of what can I do when I'm done. What does a teacher's classroom look like with poor classroom management? Oh boy. So pretty much, to me, the flexible seating, I really hated it, to be honest. So that to me but I don't want to say it's poor classroom management, because I loved my CT and she was incredible. So, she said it worked with her class the year before. So I think that's very dependent on the students from our class. Now, some things that are not the best classroom management, not being organized, having, I don't know, I'm trying to think I hated how some of the desks, she had different styles of desks. She had stools with just tables. Then she also had like the desks that normally you could put things in, but she wouldn't let you put things in because someone else might sit there in 20 minutes. So she'd have all these different things, but she had like half of them facing away from the board. And she told me, she was like, well, some kids learn better that way. And I'm like, fair, okay. And there were some bean bags or like comfy little floor couches and the bouncing balls to sit on. And I'm a fan for a kid who has an IEP or 504 or a specific need where they need that bouncy chair. But half the kids that would get them, it was just first come, first serve in the morning. And it was the kids who probably shouldn't have been using them, and they'd sit there and stab it with the pencil and it would pop. Or what else? Just different things. Are like the kids who would sit on the floor were the ones who would crawl out the door when no one was looking and sneak away from class. Like they probably should have been in a seat that was eye level with everyone's heads where if they're here or not. Having the seats face away where their back is to us. Like, yes, those were the kids that I would notice would be passing notes or drawing or not, checking their iPad. I caught one of my 3rd grade boys on the Victoria's Secret website when we were supposed to be like doing like read naturally on the iPad. I mean, and it was hard to tell because his back was towards me. So I had to kind of like full on lurk. So, I mean, management, things like that, just little things where each kid is, when it's desk time, all the kids are in their desk. And unless a kid has a special requirement, then they get that rubber bouncy ball. Everyone else, they can handle in their chairs at their desks. We did it growing up. Our parents did it growing up. They can do it. Now, of course, when it's, a different routine, oh, it's time for a read aloud. Like, yeah, come sit on the floor, sit on the rug, and I will sit in my chair and read to you. Like, that doesn't have to be as organized. But when it's independent work time or the teacher's lecturing, I think having all the kids be in a position where they are able to learn to their best ability and to allow their classmates to learn as well because they're not able to distract them by, the things they did. I have so many stories about the kids. I mean, I don't know how they half the time like got away with some of the stuff that probably should have been managed a little better. But so for me, a class that I really like organization. I like having color-coded. I want to have like a list of maybe student jobs on the wall. And each week you switch it, oh, today's door monitor and this person is my, line leader and this person is in charge of like turning on and off the lights this week and switching it up each week. And that'll give them a sense of some autonomy and help them learn to manage how to do their job. So for me, those are some different styles. I realize this video is probably way longer than everyone else's, and if you're still listening, you're awesome. I'm sorry, I talk a lot. But thank you for listening, and that's kind of my story on teaching classroom management styles and my philosophy on different ways of running classrooms and what I've seen that works and what doesn't work. And what could work for someone else that doesn't work for me and vice versa. So that's it in a nutshell. Long story short, turned into a long story. I'm sorry. But I look forward to seeing a bunch of your videos as well. So thanks for listening and have a good one.